Well, Thabo, very important conversations will be had here about the inclusivity when it comes to the trade industry and also issues of SMMEs and, of course, young people and women not having access to, trade through challenges such as marketing and, of course, financing. But just to paint us a picture, we are joined by Mr. Hlungwane, who is an executive from Absa, just to give us a preview on what we should expect today. So thank you very much for your time. Just paint us a picture of how this event will be looking like.
Thank you very much, Zola. It's great to be with you. So what's going to happen today is we will be launching a report where as Absa we've worked together with the task force, the B20 task force on trade and investment, and we'll be launching a report that focuses on driving inclusive trade for SMEs, women, and youth-owned businesses. And the point here is that when you look at the world of trade, young people, women, and SMEs in particular do struggle to actually participate in the value chains of trade, starting from having access to markets, having ways to deal with the high costs of trade, both in terms of tariffs and non-tariffs. They struggle with access to financing. They struggle with all kinds of things, really. And what we're trying to do here is we took a step back and said, how can we try and deal with some of these challenges? And therefore, we as part of the B20 Task Force on Trade and Investment, we're then working with a whole range of other partners as well, including knowledge partners and some other sponsors like IDC as well. Absa did come together, and we sat back and pulled a number of experts who sat and looked through this problem, combed through a whole lot of use cases across the continent to try and figure out what stops SMEs from participating in trade value chains. And that's essentially what we came together to do. And as the result of that is that we've come out with about 5 recommendations that have also been adopted by the International Chamber of Commerce, and the head of the ICC is also here together with us. But those are the same recommendations we are making to the G20 as well in the week, because it is critical that as Africa, we drive access and we allow SMEs, because SMEs are actually responsible for a greater part of the African economy and employ quite a number of people. Let's make it easier. Let's continue to grow that part of our economy, because that's how we'll actually deal with issues of unemployment, issues of growth, and issues of inequality.
Mm-hmm. Speaking about SMMEs, what kind of a role can they play from their part, even with women that want to be in the trade industry, in terms of making sure that they are, they attract banks such as Absa in terms of financing, because we also touched on that some people would approach Absa, but when you look at their records, they are not attractable, or rather they're not, it's not easy to finance them because of their track record.
So, and that's a very important question, right? And often, in my line of work, in our line of work, there's a lot of people out there with wonderful ideas, wonderful business ideas, who want funding. And naturally, they would think, because I have an idea, I should get funding, I should be financed. There are simple, basic things that we know work. One is, I always start at the basics, right? Is there a difference between your finances and the business finances? Can you record every transaction that you do? And can you, at least for, maybe 1 year, 2 years, get some financial records that we can actually have a look at? So whilst it's great to have a business idea, if you've started trading, try and professionalize your business. Now, what we're focusing on from the report itself is, how do we enhance market access in terms of these trade value chains? How do we make sure that we can help SMEs access financing? And here we're looking at a whole range of possibilities, and primarily working together with a whole lot of partners in the ecosystem, in particular development finance institutions, us as commercial banks, multiple government agencies, insurance companies, and many others, to try and deal with a whole range of risks that are associated with SMEs, right? So there's a lot of things we're doing, but I think on the SME side as well, we're also, by the way, as part of this, what we also refer to is initiatives to try and help with capacity building. So, what business am I in? Who are my clients? How do they buy from me? How do I price them? All of those simple, basic things that you might have a business idea, but what makes a business sustainable, it's that at the end of the day, you've got to be profitable, right? And you've got to attract investments, whether it's financing through banks or equity or any other form of, even loans from friends. Your business must look like it's investable. And the only way for that to happen is it has to be profitable. Nobody wants to put money and lose money. So from a report perspective, we come up with recommendations around market access, driving financing, using digital tools to drive information, to try and find ways for SMEs to be part of these trade value chains, regional value chains, and so forth. But on their side, there's a lot of work as well that is required just to make sure that when we as banks and other partners look at the business that we run, we can look at it and see that actually there's something here and we can put money in it.
Thank you very much, Bohani Hlungwane, an Absa executive, giving us a preview on what to expect on today's event. But what is more important, Thabo, is the fact that there will also be recommendations that will, of course, be given to G20 member countries that they can utilize to ensure that, these barriers that will be discussed today are actually broken and that women, young people, and, of course, SMMEs actually do have access to trade. For now, back to you in studio.